Hello, everybody, and welcome to On the First Tee with JT. I am Janis Thornton with JT Fitness and Golf, and I am your golf fitness trainer. And I love working with golfers who want to improve and elevate their golf game to be able to hit that ball farther down the fairway and age backwards. So I also love interviewing people and sharing their businesses with all of you just because I know how important fitness is. And I have a very special guest today, Owen Campbell with SM Physical Therapy. And he is a concierge mobile physical therapist. And he and I have had some great discussions already about golfers, physical therapy, fitness, and I can't wait for you all to meet him. So, welcome, Owen. It is so exciting to have you here today.
No, I'm excited. I circled this day on my calendar. I'm very happy to be on this podcast with you, Janice.
Perfect. So, okay, Owen, please share with us what inspired you to become a physical therapist and what led you to specialize more into the golf performance side of things.
Well, to become a PT, the biggest thing is my mom is a nurse, and I don't know if you remember the show ER.
Mhm.
I grew up watching that out of probably because I was forced to, but I really liked it. And I was like, man, I kind of want to do this, but I don't want to cut the wrong artery. And she's like, well, they teach you that in med school, right? I was like, nah, I don't want that work. So I'm going to go to physical therapy. And I knew I liked sports. I knew I wanted that ability to help people and, drive my own kind of career. But I didn't want the overhead of being a doctor. So I decided I wanted to do physical therapy. Got my doctorate in physical therapy in 2010, and I have been treating orthopedic everything, but mostly athletes and golfers for the past 15 years. So, what got me into golf, treating golfers specifically, is I love rotational athletes. And if you look at, this from the fitness world, but rotation is a very complicated movement, and
Mhm.
something wrong in one area will mess up another area of the body. And it's
Right.
not 100% intuitive to the average person where they say, oh, I should just stretch this to make this feel better. So I always felt that was like my magic trick in the clinic when I could stretch someone's hip and their shoulder pain went away because they rotated really fast. And golfers, that was basically what they do every day, hundreds of times a day on the driving range. So I got good at treating it when I was working for someone else, and then I opened my own practice 2 years ago, doing mobile in-home therapy where I come to the client. I also see patients out of a gym down here in Arcadia if they need the heavier weights or more space, but most people prefer to come to their home.
Well, and that's what's awesome about what you do is like you actually have a concierge mobile physical therapy. Like you come to people's homes.
hmm
That is a big advantage that you bring, I feel, to other people so they don't have to even go anywhere. You come to them.
Yeah, and it's amazing what you can get done in a house, right? So some people, very fortunate, they have a little gym area in their house,
Mhm.
which is nice, but it's not necessary, right? One of my early mentors said you should be able to do. This is how early it is. He used the word phone book. You should be able to do PT with a treatment table and a phone book, right? So you should do step ups and different high elevation stuff, and with a table, and with a few bands. So I mean, that is really all I need to problem solve and work through this stuff. And then I can hand it off to someone like you who knows their way around all the different machines and changing 8 different things within a week to keep them going and they don't get bored. I'm boring. I fix stuff, but I'm boring.
I'll happily take over from there for you
There you
then
go.
because I love mixing everything up for sure.
That's it.
Okay, so what is one of the biggest myths you hear from golfers about pain, mobility, or training?
Well, the hardest part I find, and it has changed over my 15 years, is just the fact that you need to be an athlete to be a golfer, right? 15 years ago, it was almost looked down upon, right? I mean, Tiger
Right.
Woods started, and everyone's like, well, he's different, but all the other guys, they don't work out, so I don't need to work out because I don't want to get too muscly,
Right.
right? And I'm sure you've heard that before.
Yes.
The amount of times I've heard people say, "Oh, I don't want Jennifer Aniston's arms," and I kind of sit and I say, "Well, okay, you have to work super hard for a long time to get her arms, and I'm
Yeah,
probably sure you're not going to do that.
right.
Um, so the biggest myth is still out there of I don't need to stretch, I don't need to strengthen, I'm not trying to crush it down the fairway. Why do I need to lift a weight? And I'm usually saying, well, to keep you where you're at, right? You've
Okay.
seen what happens when you don't do anything. You just give up the sport eventually, right? Um, to keep you playing into your 50s, 60s, 70s, you
Mhm.
have to maintain. So that's the biggest myth I've seen is that people think it'll just be there.
I think also another myth that I just thought of is people think that you just automatically get shorter,
Mhm.
you lose distance as you age.
Yep.
And at 58 years old, I actually have more distance today
Hmm.
than I did 5 years ago. And yeah, but I strength train more and I'm more mobile.
Yeah.
And so those things have made a huge difference for me to be able to hit the ball farther. So I don't plan on losing much distance over the time, as long as I feel like as long as you really strengthen the right way and do mobility work the right way, you
Yeah.
can keep it going.
Well, I mean, aging backwards, right?
Mhm.
I just had a guy yesterday. He told me he's gained 50 yards in 5 visits, and he hasn't had that distance for 10 years, right?
Wow.
Um, Now he's in pain, right? So we took the pain away. Obviously, if you take pain away, you're going to hit it harder.
Right.
But he was even better than before he had pain. Another guy in his 40s where he's like, yeah, I was, I'm going to play D1 and I was scratch and all that stuff. He said in the last 10 years, I've lost, I've gone to like a 5, 6 handicap. And he just texted me a week ago saying he's back down to a 2
Oh,
because
that's
he's gaining
awesome.
distance, right? His short game was never the issue, it was the distance. So
Right.
all of that coming from just committing to a basic program. I won't say I'm magic. Like I'm doing stuff that's very common,
Right.
but putting it all together, motivating and doing it is the key.
Nice. So what do you think is more important for a golfer? If should they be working on mobility more or strength training more?
It all depends, and you'll hate to
Yeah,
hear that answer.
I know.
Um, really, because to put it in the most simplest terms, people are either Gumby or they're the Hulk, right? They're either
Mhm.
stiff and they just need a lot of mobility to get their muscles moving, um, versus they are very flexible and they just cannot control it. They cannot time how their muscles interact with other muscles and other joints. Almost always, everybody has a little bit of all of it, right? So if you're stiff, you don't have part of your range of motion in a joint. Well, you need to stretch into that, but that new range of motion that you just earned over 2, 3, 4 weeks of stretching is range of motion you've never controlled in years, right?
Yeah.
So then you need strengthening. And then you need control. And then you
Yes.
need you need timing because now your hips can turn a little bit farther. So now you want to get more power by getting them going first. You don't have to stop them earlier. That type of stuff that it all kind of comes out as we gain and as we kind of pass different levels. So some people are really stiff when they meet me. Some people are really flexible. And we kind of work from there towards a good balance of everything.
I feel like those people who are super flexible are a little bit harder to not, I don't want to say work with, but to get them to control their core
They are
and to
harder to work
control.
with. They are harder to rehab.
Yeah,
100%.
because it's like they don't know how to control a lot of their movements,
Yep.
and then trying to teach them how to actually bring everything under control can be harder for them. And even because I have a new client and it took me a good month with her to really get her to understand how to engage her core
Mhm.
and squeezing her glutes and bracing her abs. She just could really, she's like, I can just do this. And I'm like, no, but I can physically see you do all these other things that you don't want to be doing. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
we learn early in PT school it's harder to rehab a hypermobile person, a very flexible person,
mhm,
than it is a hypomobile person or a very stiff person.
yeah,
Stiff, you give them a book of exercises, they do it for 6 weeks, they're generally better, right?
yeah,
Hypermobile, it's a lot of teaching.
yeah. It is a lot of teaching. Awesome. Okay, so let's talk about low back
There you go.
for the golfers because
Let's do it.
that's typically the number one issue with the
Like
majority
90% of my
of
business, yeah.
golfers. What are the most common causes you see? And what actual fixes work outside the clinic?
So I will keep this more from a physical therapy cause, right? Because if you talk to any good golf instructor, things like early extension, reverse spine angle, all these different things can cause somebody to, on the downswing or on the, as they start the swing, to really start to collapse down on their low back, right? Typically, righty golfers, right-sided back pain, right? Because they go into reverse spine angle and then they have to go very, very quickly into the exact opposite lateral flexion and flexion. And that is very hard for anybody to do, especially not an elite athlete, right? Which most of us are
Right.
not elite athletes. Um, but that's a form thing. That's where you go to your golf instructor and talk to them. The biggest source of that I see is almost always hip stiffness, right? Hip rotational stiffness, and then usually followed by either hip weakness, right? Where they're using their back to do the job of the glutes, right? I
Right.
always say to people, look, your back is a lot of tiny muscles with a spinal cord in it, or you can use your big dumb hip joint with a big dumb muscle over the top. What would you rather overuse 100 times at the range tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So the problem is when we select the wrong thing, when our brain selects the wrong thing. And
Hmm.
sometimes that can come from I sit all day on my butt, I never use it, and then I go and swing the hell out of a club, right? Um, it could also just come from you had a bad back injury 20 years ago, and that's how you got around was you stabilized with your back muscles and you stopped using your glutes. So it's almost always in the hips. Every now and then I'll see something where it'll be a wrist issue where they can't, extend their wrist, so they want to get their backswing farther, and because their wrist isn't able to extend, they try and do it with their back by arching their back. Some
Hmm.
of these kind of like second and third level things. But 9 times out of 10, if somebody's got low back pain, they got stiff hips.
Okay. Yep. I see that a lot too. So is there a simple pre-round warm-up that actually makes a difference in performance and pain management? Like, can you name off a couple exercises that you always recommend?
Yes. So I look at a patient and I say, look, I'm just like you. I show up to the range with maybe 5 balls that I can hit because I was late coming off of work or just got there or whatever. And oh crap, the tee time's in like 10 minutes, right?
Mhm.
So if that's the situation, obviously try and fix that if you can. Gain
Right.
yourself 30 minutes, get there early, go through all the typical stretches that one would do to get loose to perform an athletic activity, right? But if you are kind of doing these car stretches. And when I say car, I mean automobile, but the term I use is actually cars, right? And you may be familiar with these controlled articular rotations. They are essentially the guy who created it said, I just want to turn the joint in every range of motion it possibly would do in a day. And I want to do that with this motion, right? It's too much to explain on a podcast. I have a YouTube channel. I'm sure you probably have these on your YouTube
Mhm.
as well, um, where you just say CAR, controlled articular rotations. It is fantastic. You can do it on the tee box if you are that late, right? And I usually do shoulders and hips. Those are the two main ones that I'll give to people. Look it up on YouTube if you're a listener right now. They are game changers. If not, if you do have time, I really try and get people to do an active warm up, right? Where
Mhm.
they're not just sitting and stretching and holding for 30 seconds. There is benefit to that, but I want them to do things where they're maybe doing like a lunge with rotation, right?
Mhm.
Instead of just sitting and stretching rotation, right?
Yeah.
I might want them to do like an overhead press with light weight, or maybe get on their stomach and lift their arms to the side to do like a prone T or prone Y with a light
Mhm.
weight, just to activate those muscles. Because in the body, you don't just have like the stiff thing that stays small. Really, what it is that your body's just choosing to use a different muscle. So if you turn on those muscles, you wake them up before the round, you're much more likely to use them.
Yep. I love it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about you being a mobile concierge physical therapy.
Yeah.
How does treating golfers in their own environment, like their house, change outcomes compared to traditional clinics?
Well, the nice part about it is it's just easy. I mean, if you got a 10 o'clock Zoom call and a 12 o'clock Zoom call, I'm your 11 o'clock. I show up at 11, I leave at 12. I don't care if your kids are around or your dog's barking or whatever. It's very much a convenience play, right? The second part of that is I have my board certification in orthopedics. I am TPI certified level two, about to be level three here in the summer.
Oh, nice.
Um, you go find me someone in a clinic anywhere in the valley that has that level of education. They are out there, but they are few, and you usually have to drive to them. So that's where the mobile kind of comes in. But that's why it's concierge, right? So that you can guarantee you have that for an hour with the therapist who knows what they're talking about. And I'm not, it's medical, so the no way I'm going to guarantee that you get better outcomes, but we typically see fast outcomes when you spend a lot more time with the provider. They come to your house, they make it easy. We just take all the friction away, so that we can focus on the rehab and focus on the results.
And so I know like when with insurance, they might say, oh, okay, you get 16 visits or you
Mhm.
get 10 visits. And with you, you don't ha you base it on what the client actually needs. So some
Yes, I
clients,
love money. I make them come for like 50 visits. No, I'm kidding.
I know you do.
Uh, so, so you can choose how you treat, right? And I look at my business. I live here. I got kids here. I got a house here. I'm not leaving. I look at my business and say, look, if I can fix you in 3 visits, and I use fix loosely, but let's just say I can get you improved pain, improved swing, all that stuff in 3 visits when everyone else took you 10. In 5 years, that's going to produce a much happier person who tells more friends. And then
Yeah,
they get really good results, and then they tell more friends. That whole word of mouth snowball, right?
yeah, yeah,
Versus me saying, I got to see you for 20 visits, and if you don't do that, you're a bad person. You know what I
right.
mean? So,
Yeah,
like, insurance does limit you, though, and it all depends. Everybody's insurance is different, but a lot of them will say you are limited to functional activities. What that means is getting off the toilet, walking in your house, going shopping, right? Things that you
right.
need to not die, right?
Yeah,
But golf isn't one of those. I have sat on the phone with a nurse practitioner for the major company, and I've said this guy golfs 5 times a week. That is the thing he cares about. Why can't I have 5 more visits to work on his ability to swing without pain? And they're like, not functional, don't care. We're not paying for it. Right. So that's the nice part about what I do is that it's all based on your goals. So I have one guy, he once a week, every week that he's here, I work with him so he can play 5 days a week. Right. I have
right.
other people that they're like, dude, I need this done in like 3 weeks because I'm leaving. Cool. We can work with that. Right. So
Cool.
I get to make that choice with you versus a third person in the room.
Which that's nice because those third person people don't usually have that kind of education that we need them to have.
Yeah,
Just saying.
yeah. Or they do, but their incentive is to say no.
They're just not a golfer. They don't understand.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean the fact that the social and emotional benefits of golfing,
Oh,
especially as we age, are insane, right? If I could put in a pill what people get in their nervous system, their gastrointestinal system, their cardiovascular, all that stuff, if I could
yeah,
put all that into a pill and give it to people, they call it the next Ozempic, right? So why are we stopping people at you can get off your chair, you're good, right?
right.
That's part of the reason I love the game of golf is because I know it's what's going to carry me into my older years,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
Because
absolutely,
I
for
need
sure.
competition, I need something, I need to, get after it. So yeah,
Well, I think of all the people I get to play at my club and the members that are there in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and we have one lady in her 90s. She's going to be 95 this year, and
yeah,
she plays 3 times a week. She
dude, those
doesn't hit the
90-year-olds
ball
are
very
machine.
far, but she's just down the middle. But she's out there 3 times a week, and she is a doll.
Yeah,
Just love her. So,
yeah, and that's it. I mean, she's happy, she's interacting, and you look at all the science on happiness and longevity. I
yeah,
mean, there's people, they have clinics and spas with injections to get you longer life. What you really need to do is get out there and hit some balls.
yeah,
You know?
totally agree. Totally agree. So let's look at, well, this we kind of just answered this next one. As golfers get older, what mindset or body changes matters most when it comes to maintaining distance and reducing injury?
Well, I think we talked around it a lot in a lot of different parts of this, but
Hmm.
essentially, knowing that your body is a machine, right? When it comes to the orthopedic sense, right?
Yeah,
It's a physics problem. That's all it is, right? And yes, there are things as we age. nervous system has decreased conduction. You will not run as fast in your 70s as you do in your 20s, right?
Mhm.
Your balance will not be as good in your 70s as it is in your 20s. So we know that that is there. We know arthritis happens. Cartilage stops growing at 18. So if you are 70, you are 50 years on cartilage that someone who's 22 is on 4 years on. So there's going to be joint limitations. There's going to be things that you just can't change, even with surgery, right? So knowing that and knowing keeping you at the absolute best of what your body is legitimately able to do, the only way to do that is to stay consistent with fitness. And then when you either have issues with pain, I'm there for it. But having that conversation between your fitness, your PT, and your instructor, right, are the
Mhm.
ways that you can do that. And really, it just comes down to conversation. Like, I don't want to be sitting here saying, "Ooh, you have a really flared up hip," and then I send that person to Janice, and Janice is like, let's do squat thrusts with like 500 pounds. I know you wouldn't do that, but you know what I mean. Or like have a swing coach trying to increase their hip turn when I know that they should not be really doing that much internal rotation for the next 2 weeks, right?
Right.
So that communication is big. So I encourage most of my golfers who really are committed to wanting to stay playing for a long time, find the people you like in those three columns and make sure they know each other.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, so what's one stretch every golfer should do daily?
Ooh. So I love the 90-90 position.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard for some people to get into, so there are other versions of it, but basically it stretches. You get on the floor, you put one leg forward in front of you, like you're an old man reading the paper, and then you kick the other leg kind of to the side, right? Like you're about to kick somebody with like a Chuck Norris roundhouse kick, right? And you lean forward to stretch the front leg, and you lead a little bit to the side. There's some nuance in it, so again, YouTube plug for all of us. I'm sure you probably have it on your channel too, but it's an excellent stretch for hip rotation that nobody gets in their day, right? If you go to the
Right.
gym and you're doing deadlifts and squats and lunges and all that, that's very forward, front and back, which is very
Hmm.
important, right? We need those muscles. That's how we run, walk, jump. It's also a very big part of how we hit the crap out of the ball, right?
Right.
But the thing that I see missed and that what leads people to hit my office is that they never stretch rotation, right? And they never focus on rotation. So I would do that stretch, 90-90 stretch. Look it up on YouTube. My channel's at the Golf Doctor. Where are you at? I know you
I'm
have.
JT Fitness and Golf.
There you go. I'm sure it's on there too. So I use it all the time.
Well, I love that stretch too, because one thing I love about mobility work like is you just kind of keep moving throughout these positions and just
Mhm.
getting like when you can really just listen to your body and find a spot like, oh, I need to stop here for just a couple extra seconds and then keep on moving. It's
Mhm.
like when I finish a nice mobility session, my body is just like, oh, thank you
Mhm.
for that nice movement. It's
Yeah.
just nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what's the worst golf related advice you hear?
Don't move. um, no, I mean the kind of old school stuff where it was like kind of taboo to lift weights, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's probably the most I would say. The other, honestly, is like comparing yourself to the PGA. Um, and I mean, most logical people would know this, but then they watch like Tiger Woods swing, and then they're like, well, I got to do this because Tiger does it. And what I usually say to people is that you would have to have surgery to have the range of motion in your shoulders that Tiger Woods has, right? Um, and then I know he's had some injury history, but even just if you look at, Scotty or something, right?
Mhm.
You have to practice that. You have to be born with a certain amount of flexibility and motor control and be in your 20s, all that stuff.
That helps.
And then the other thing is grip strength, right? So how many people have been told, oh, light grip, right? Well, light grip for a PGA Tour Pro is about 110 degree or 110 pounds of force, right? The strongest grip I can do, and I work out 3 times a week with weights, is 110, right? Those guys swing the club all day, every day, and they lift heavy weights. So for them, a light grip for every other amateur is actually pretty strong grip.
Mhm.
So the whole light grip thing I find is sometimes a problem that people are losing power there.
Well, I feel like too, if you don't hang on to your club, you're going to send it down the fairway
Yeah,
also.
yeah, don't get too late.
You do have to hang on.
Yep.
Okay, Owen, how can people get a hold of you? What's the easiest way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so my the company name is Simplify Motion. So you can go to simplifymotion.com. I have Instagram at Simplify Motion. I'm on Facebook, Simplify Motion Physical Therapy. I mentioned earlier my YouTube channel. It's at golf or at the Golf DPT, which is our credentials doctorate of physical therapy. Or if you just type in the golf doctor, I usually am the first one that comes up. Um, and then yeah, I mean, email, phone, all that stuff is all on there,
Love it.
and it goes directly to me. I'm the only one. I am, I am the janitor. I am the CEO. So, if you just shoot me a
Perfect.
message on any other way, you'll get a hold of me.
Perfect. Love it. Well, Owen, thank you so much for doing this. And again, anyone, if you have any questions for Owen, please feel free to reach out to him
Mhm.
and get connected. I know, oh, we were talking about that you have a freebie to give away if people, they can join your email list
Yes.
as well
So,
from your
right.
website.
Yeah. So through any of those channels, you can just DM me or comment on a post or anything like that. And I'll add you to my email list. And I am working on a free mobility program with, just easy videos, stuff that we talked about today, things that I use every day with my golfers that are in pain, to get them out of pain and then progressing towards, that power and that good, healthy mobility. So, yeah, if you just want to find me on any of the channels and just say, "Hey, I heard you on Janice's pod," and then I'll send you over a good group of exercises that should keep you playing pain free here in the next 5 months that we actually have good weather.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a new golf fitness community, online community off my website that is going to be opening up by the end of this week. So
I
I'm
saw that. That is
excited
so cool.
to have everyone come on and join. And so we can do a lot of good golf fitness stuff together. So, well,
Yeah, the
Owen, thanks so
community.
much. I appreciate you being here.
I gotta say before we go out, the community is so important. When you have a bad day, when you have a question, you just shoot it in the chat and someone can answer you. Awesome. That's a great idea, Janice.
Well, you can have one too.
Ah, there you go.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks so much. And everyone connect with Owen.
All right. See ya.
Have a great day.